Why is our culture obsessed with lived experience only? Let's talk about wisdom and how we get there with the Bible. Welcome to the 167.
1, 2, 3, let's go!
Hey, welcome back to the 167. I'm Pastor Lucas. I'm here with Pastor Rick George.
Hey, good morning to you.
Hey, it's a crisp autumn morning this morning.
It is like
God, it's freezing.
30, 32 degrees.
Yeah. Of course, all my kids left the house, no coats. It's not even cold, bro.
Why not? Why not?
Hey, so we're in our week 2 series of our series Misinformation. A very timely message to the election. So
You mean all the information that we're given is not accurate, like on point?
I was just making it feminine. It's just misinformation.
Oh,
we should have had a lady that was misinformation.
Had her on stage, and
Yeah, we get it. Like we could actually put an information booth in the lobby about the church, but it's all just not factual, and we could have misinformation.
we could have like miscellaneous
Yeah,
right next to misinformation.
I love it. It's our new welcome desk. So we were talking a little bit about comprehension, kind of wisdom, like lived experience and revelation this week. But I thought we'd just start off by asking, like, what is something that like you come across in the Bible? What's a favorite piece of wisdom or knowledge in the Bible that you really enjoy?
That is a very broad
I know.
question. So the word wisdom, so I looked, it's used, the specific word used over 200 times. Like, this is wisdom.
Yeah.
And then it tells you something
Is
about
that
wisdom.
199 of them in Proverbs.
Yeah. A lot of them are in Proverbs, but so you got just all the references to the exact word wisdom, and then the abundance of little nuggets that are scattered through the pages of Scripture that give us bits and pieces of wisdom, like building blocks of wisdom. And so you have, hundreds and hundreds of these little nuggets of wisdom. And then the question, what's your favorite one?
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, I don't know.
What's one in your top 1,000?
Yeah. So kind of the broad picture of that. So Solomon, when God has a conversation with him, in I think 1 Kings maybe, that might not even be true. I could have just made that up. I don't know. I don't know why I said 1 Kings. But so God has this conversation with Solomon, and he says, what do you want? I got my blank check out. I'll write in whatever you want. You tell me. And Solomon says, I just want the ability to be able to discern, have wisdom between right and wrong, right, good and evil. Like, that's what I want more than anything. I'm not sure that would have been my answer. It should have been, because that's wisdom, right? That's a nugget. That's what I want. So that's something that has kind of guided me, that I need to seek wisdom above every other thing that's available. But on a more practical, kind of personal, the nugget that kind of sticks out to me, to answer your question more specifically, Proverbs 15:1 says, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh answer stirs up anger. That's wisdom.
That's marriage advice right there.
I don't always pay attention to it, but it's something that I try to grab onto. That's a nugget that's really powerful. That if you want to stir up something, have a harsh answer. But if you want to try to de-escalate it and bring some calm to it, have a gentle, well thought out answer.
Yeah, mine's close to that. It's we're in Proverbs 17. I think it's 28. Now I'm gonna want to go look it up, but it's 17:28. It, I think, is about how you can tell. It says even a fool seems wise when he keeps his mouth shut,
Yeah.
and he seems discerning when he holds his tongue.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can just, I can't remember, other people say that where it's like, if you keep your mouth shut, you could be a fool, but if you open it, you'll prove it.
Yeah. So what's the this is probably inappropriate, but the comedian who said that he got pulled over by a cop and the police said you have the right to remain silent. He said,
is this-
I knew that I had the right to remain silent. I just didn't have the ability to remain silent.
Exactly.
So
I love that one, but I just think there's so many things. One of my other favorite things is I know that people are, it's so boring, and I agree that it's so boring. I just like the idea that the worst things that nobody reads in the Bible are always the genealogies. So and so begat so and so begat so and so. But what other religion, like what other historical document, what other thing has literally you can trace from Adam till first century Jesus?
yeah.
Like and you can go like, oh yeah, it's this guy to this guy to this guy to this guy, and it's like, well, we don't have a written recorded of how long history has happened. I'm like, you literally have a family tree that spans the entire existence of humanity.
Yeah. And it is
It's
a
boring.
bit tedious and boring. When back whenever I went to Bible college, and that topic came up, and I don't know why I remember this, but one of the questions was, why do we need to read all of these names? And it's just because it is boring. And the professor, can't remember who it was, but the professor at the time said that those names may seem insignificant to you, right? But if your name was in there, wouldn't you want everybody to read it? They'd be like, oh, you got to go to this part.
My name's in
Yeah, because your name would be in there. And so then it would be important. So those names are important, and they tell us something about that thread that runs through the entire Bible. And we don't think it's important because we don't see our name in there.
right.
But it is in there. Like our lineage is in there as followers of Jesus, but we
Yeah.
just So-
We used to do that. We used to sit in movie theaters and look for the credits and try and find our name, even though,
Yeah.
Obviously it wasn't us, but people love that. So this week we're kind of talking about 3 types of wisdom. That there is knowledge wisdom, which is very popular right now, long form podcasts. I'm just going to soak up everything. I'm going to watch 18,000 YouTube videos. Like, we are not lacking for comprehension.
Not at all.
And then there's revelation, which is when God speaks to us. And then there's wisdom, which is essentially in its boiled down form. Like I kind of had to speak in generalities because of the topic, but is what we might call lived experience.
Right.
So you have wisdom, even though it may not be based on anything. It could just be the wisdom of, hey, how do you do this? Because I saw that you did it yesterday. Well, here's how I did it. Now that may not be the most efficient way, but it is your experience of how you did it. Why do you think? I feel like this is the thing that is just rising to the top in culture. Is you hear people use it almost as a trump card. My lived experience.
Yeah.
Why do you think that our culture is kind of poised in that direction of that this matters so much to people, that their lived experience?
I guess the short answer to that, if I have, I rarely have a short answer, but the short answer to that is we have been told so many times in the recent past, it's just been ingrained in us that you can't argue with my experience. Like what I experienced is what I experienced, and my experience, what we're told, is my experience supersedes, is more valuable, it trumps any fact that you might have that would prove otherwise. No, don't confuse me with the facts. Like, I had this experience, therefore this is the new fact. It's the new reality.
Right.
And it's like, no, there's still facts, and you might have experienced something, but it's not now the norm. It's not the truth. It's not factual.
Yeah.
But we've been told for so long, you cannot argue with my experience. And again, there is a nugget, a little element, a thread of truth in that experience really is, it's valuable. Like
Absolutely.
when you have an experience with God, that experience oftentimes solidifies things that you've heard or read about or whatever, and then you have that experience and it solidifies it. But the experience in and of itself cannot then set the norm or the new level of this is truth.
Well, and I know you're not big on movies, but I'm a movie guy, and there's two movies that are they're almost the exact opposite in these messaging. And one of them was George Clooney and Anna Kendrick, was called Up in the Air, and he was a guy that he flew all around the country and he fired people. He was the axe man that basically like the corporate hires him. He sets up in an office and just brings people in and says, "Hey, you're being laid off. Here's your package." You know, like he's the hired in HR guy, and she thinks that she can do it over Zoom, like, and so she has this like new efficient way to do it. And he just says, "You need to come on the road with me." He's like, "You have to understand what I do before you sign it off to a teenager with a robot." Like, and so the message of that is throughout that movie is that there's this personal lived experience, like that he can sit with somebody in a room and go and kind of read the room and kind of be there with somebody, and she's learning that as a young person. And then you have like Moneyball. Did you ever see Moneyball?
Yeah.
Love Moneyball. But that's the opposite message, where you have this room full of scouts who are standing there going, "I don't know, he's got an ugly girlfriend." And they're going, "No, no, no, look at these statistics.
Yeah.
We can win with these statistics in this new way." And there's like a weird tension that happens where it's like there's so much wisdom available to us, I feel like sometimes, and it's like that helps us in a very personal way, like to relate to people and everything. It doesn't always help with efficiency, but there's always that one thing where that some cocky kid is like, "If we just did it this way," and then there's a reason that they don't do it that way.
Yeah. So I don't know if this makes sense as it comes out of my mouth. In my head, it makes sense. So lived experience. So I have this experience. I lived it out and it worked, or it was powerful. It's not that it was wrong and it was bad, but it kind of fits into that, in my mind, into that idea that even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while.
Yeah.
Like, so your lived experience.
What if you were just lucky?
Yeah, you just happened to stumble into something that worked randomly one out of the million times, and you happen to hit it. It doesn't then make the other 999 times it didn't work then invalid. No, you just stumbled across something somehow and it happened to work out. And no, I can't argue with that. It did work, but that can't become, well, now that's true for everybody. No, it's, you do it 900 other times, it's going to fail. And that's what we don't like to hear.
Well, I think sometimes saying that's my lived experience, it's almost like wisdom light, in the sense of, it's not that I've done this. It's one thing if you have somebody that's like, "I have done this for 60 years. This is what's, like I've tried it 100 times. This is what 98% of the time worked for me," versus "I did it one time. I'm 15 years old. This is my lived experience." Like, those two things are not the same thing.
Yeah.
But I feel like saying my lived experience is a way for you to almost achieve the same playing field, like to elevate your lived experience to somebody who is, seasoned in that. But
yeah.
But I think that we, as a culture, we're into lived experience, and I think that we are actually into the other two as well. People like Revelation; they want to read, like I joked about it, but people want to talk about the universe or read their horoscope, or do whatever. And they also love knowledge right now. Like I said, we are a inundated society. I was just playing a video game last night, and like I tried something a couple of times, and Chris is like, "Why don't you just look it up on the internet?" And I'm like, because that's cheating. Like, but it's out there. There's 15 videos about how to do it. And so I think that we're into these things individually. So why do you think that culture is still resistant to the Bible specifically, when we're very much a spiritual people? We're very much, a culture that is into information, but we still don't like specifically the Bible?
Because the truth, like we read it, and it says, when you know the truth, this is in John, right? And Jesus said, you'll know the truth, and the truth will make you mad. No, it says the truth will set you free, but it makes us
also-
mad.
Yeah.
Like, and so we don't like it. So because the truth stings sometimes, the truth hurts. It's created for our freedom, and our freedom comes at a cost. So like you got to give up some things and shave off some things, and so it stings when you're told the truth. And so what we like is validation. So as a staff, about a year and
wait.
a half ago,
Hold on, say that one more time. We don't really like the truth. We like
validation.
that's
Yeah. And so about a year and a half ago or so, we read a book together as a staff, and the author of the book was saying that when he, is working on a manuscript and he'll give it to his wife to, give feedback, he said that she'll always ask him, like, do you want feedback or do you just want to feel good? Right? Do you want the truth or do you want to feel good?
right.
Because that's going to determine how I answer you. If you want me to just say it's great, then I'm validated. Or do you want the truth?
It's like when you're in, with your spouse and you're like, do you want to vent or do you want advice? Like, do you want me to fix it or you just want to say?
So, okay, cards on the table. Most of the time, I just want to be validated. Like, I don't want the truth. Like, I just want you to say, that was great. Maybe it wasn't. Okay. But I don't want to hear that it wasn't great. I mean, it's more valuable, but personally, it's like, I just want to feel good. So in our culture, like we've developed this whole environment that says, oh, we want to support you. We want to validate you. We want, like, your feelings are what's most important. So I know that what you just did was terrible, but we're going to validate you. I know that your little team here was awful. You get a trophy too.
Right.
And so in our culture, we've just developed this environment where we don't want to give the truth because the truth stings, and we don't like to feel the sting. We just like to feel good. And so fortunately, in our culture, there's all kinds of opportunities for us to find the stuff, the information, the whatever we need that'll validate us, make us feel good, and then there you go. We're happy.
Well, I think even as Christ followers, we're guilty of that in the scriptures because it's like, we're like, oh, this is great. Daniel and Lion's Den. Oh, love it. David and Goliath. Oh, I'm just going to face every giant in my life. It's like these inspirational stories are great.
Yeah.
And then you encounter something in the Bible it's tough, or you have to stop doing something in your life or something like that. And it's like, well, not this one, or not, it's just like, and that's at the point where, like you said, I'm going, now I'm no longer validated. I am confronted. And like, I think about that just in a maturity level. There's an age with my kids where it's like, hey, daddy, look at this, look at this drawing. And it's like, well, that's so great, honey. It's so beautiful. It's like, and honestly, it's not going up in an art gallery. And it's just like, it's, a triangle and a circle. And we're like, this is so great for you, and then, it becomes this thing where you start to hide them from your kids because you have to throw them away in secret. But there comes a point when they're like 8, 9, 10 that you start going, hey, would you like a drawing book? Would you like they give those books to kids where it's like how to draw a horse, like one step at a time. And it's like, and it starts to become like, hey, you're coloring outside the lines. What if we move that inside? What if we made it look more like a person? What if he didn't have 12 fingers, he had 10? And so you start to kind of critique, and if you can do it gently, it's fine. But like, as a Christ follower, I feel like we do that as well with ourselves and with, as pastors, preaching to people where it's like, hey, listen, Jesus loves you. Jesus loves you. Also, you need to make good decisions. Jesus loves you.
Yeah. So
Elmo loves you.
While you were saying that, let me look up on my phone because I don't think I showed you this. So on my phone, so I have an Android. It's a Samsung Note. Okay, so it has the little stylus that's built into the phone. You pull it out, and if you're watching, then you can like do things on. You take notes with the stylus, and so I'll show you. So last week, your daughters were backstage during the run through prior to service. And so I got an update on my phone about a week ago for this note feature. And it's AI driven. Okay. So you can scribble whatever you want, and then
Tries to interpret it.
and it creates something better. And so your daughter, so Mare, drew a ballerina. And does she listen to this?
No.
Okay, so it wasn't a great drawing. It's, like you said, just a stick figure.
You shock me, sir.
I know. It was just like she tried and she made this little thing, and then that's what it created.
Oh, that's really nice.
See? And the camera.
We'll zoom in on that.
Zoom, zoom, zoom.
Yeah.
So it created that from her little thing. It knew that she was drawing a ballerina. Then your other daughter drew a picture of me. It was an awesome picture. But here's what it turned out to.
Oh,
She
that's
wrote
actually
Pastor
cool.
Rick on there. See? And so
It looks like you're in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer claymation.
okay, well, let's just stop right there. It's an awesome picture. And so it just reminds me that our culture is so in tune with we want you to feel, we know you can't draw. We know that you're terrible. But we want you to scribble something, and then we'll make it look like it's amazing.
Yeah.
Right. And so here's the thing, kind of bringing it back to your question. The knowledge that we can gain, just the information that's available to us in culture, society, Google, Chat GPT, whatever the source might be, the information is limitless. So we can take whatever bit of information we find that we like, and then we can mold it and we can shape it into something that fits our current circumstance or feeling and validate ourselves. Because there's not a lack. If you look far enough, you're going to find some
Something.
information that's going to validate you. And then we have something to stick our flag in the ground and say, see, I am good. It's like, well, you had a really bad idea. And just because there was somebody else who also thinks that that bad idea was a good idea doesn't make that idea a good idea. Mm-hmm. It just means two of you thought it was a good idea. It's still a bad idea. So just because someone validates you doesn't mean that it's true or that it's right or that it's good. But we're in this world where, no, I found something and now I feel great.
Well, I would also challenge people, especially people that, like, when they're having those ideas, they think the Bible is obsolete. I always want to ask, like, go deeper. How do you know that? Where did you find that? Because I do think that so many of our morals, at least here in the United States, are biblically based morals, and there's no other foundation. It's not, well, I don't kill people because the government says I can't. And I'm going, well, if I repealed that tomorrow, would that be okay? Can I come kill your family if all of a sudden the government said it was okay? Well, no.
No.
And it's like, well, then you have to ask yourself, why do you believe that? And eventually you're going to have to get back to the point where if you don't have, I mean, you can be Buddhist, Hindu, Islam, the whatever, but it's like at least the three major ones, Islam, Judaism, and the Bible, and Christianity, agree on the Old Testament. Yeah. And it's just like, those are the things that you're going to have to start asking yourself, what is the foundation in my anchor?
Yeah. So,
well, and the last question, just as we're kind of parting, I would just ask, what do you think is, like, for you, of those three things? You have the comprehension, so like the data, the wisdom, the lived experience, and the revelation, hearing from God. Which of those do you kind of naturally gravitate towards? Like, if one of them's going to be, it's 33, 33, and 34%. Which one of those is going to be 34%? And which one is probably the hardest for you to kind of connect to?
I'll start with the hardest. It's the revelation. It takes more effort, more intentionality. It takes more time. It takes more humility. I can to find true revelation. Okay. And so I'll preface air quotes. If you're listening, I'm doing air quotes.
Air quotes.
True revelation. Lots of people will tell you, oh, God told me and God said, and I heard God speak. And again, it's my lived experience. You can't argue with that because God.
Right.
That's
I heard God, you don't know.
Yeah. So that lived experience in the Christian realm is translated, God told me. Right. And so I can't argue. If God told you, I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
So, so when I air quote and say true revelation, when God truly reveals something to you that's profound, that takes a little effort and time. It's transformative. It is life altering. Like, it is powerful, but it doesn't just happen as you're driving to work. I mean, it can, but oftentimes you got to stop and you have to listen and you have to like take the time.
Usually if it happens like that, we've been making it too hard on the Holy Spirit and he has to like yell at
Yeah.
us.
And so it's easy. And the reason I say it's the most difficult, it's easy to just flippantly say, well, God said, God told me. And we use that sometimes when it really wasn't God.
Right.
It was just something that I wanted. It was my lived experience. All right. So, and then next in order going up would be the comprehension, because again, it takes some time to really process and understand. And then the easiest is the
Lived experience or wisdom.
Yeah, the wisdom. It's just so, yeah. So that would be my hierarchy, because I would want to go just in the flesh,
Right.
the easiest, like just what's the easiest, and that's what I'll lean into more than what's the more difficult, time-consuming, like, because internally, I think we all struggle with that little voice that says, "Ain't nobody got time for that."
Right.
Like, I don't have. I'm so busy. Just give me the, the thing. Just give me what I need for today.
Yeah. What I think is weird is like when I was thinking through this, I was thinking like, I think situationally, I feel like I tend to lean on comprehension and straw man almost wisdom, where it's like when I talk to, I mean, I have 2 teenagers. So when I'm talking to my teenagers, I'm like, hey, you need to do this. And it's like, why do I need to do that? And I just want to go, because I'm 43 years old. That's why you should do it. Like I've done that a million times, whatever. And I always think, and they're like, I don't think that's the best way. And then I think if I can get them the right data set, like every time that I am in a disagreement with somebody else, I feel like if I can just explain it well enough, they will make the same decision that I would make. Yeah. And it's super frustrating. So it's because 2 people can have the exact same information and draw 2 different conclusions.
Absolutely.
But I just think I think I'm always constantly convincing myself if somebody just understood, they would do something more wise or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. So,
but, well, I'll tell you what, this week is going to be the last week. We're going to be talking about historical Jesus.
Yep. Talk about Jesus this week. It's going to be good.
I'm super pumped about that. I hope that you guys are too. We will see you next time here on the 167. If you enjoyed this episode of the 167, make sure you like, subscribe, follow, get notified, leave a 5-star rating and a positive review. Tell all your friends to listen as well. Make sure you go over to newlifegardener.com and check out all that we have to offer as a church, and check out our messages online as well. Thanks for listening.